Hello, I'm Les Hewitt. I'm the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, The Power of Focus. And I'm really excited today to be sharing some of my focusing strategies with the people at E-Dinar. And that's a very exciting company. It's going to be one of the very first peer-to-peer exchanges where you can transfer money all over the world without any fees. And even better than that, if you'd like to earn some money, you can do that through bonuses up to 0.65% of whatever's in your wallet. So very, very exciting. So I'm going to share with you today in a series of 6 videos, starting with today's called The Sales Focus. And what that means is the most important fundamental skills that you need to develop to be a top salesperson who's really in that top 5 to 10%. Now, I've been in the business world running my own company for well over 30 years. I've been surrounded by some of the greatest mentors, teachers, trainers, experts around the world, and I'm going to share as much practical information as I can because my deal is all about getting results. We can talk about concepts and philosophies all day long, but if you don't get results at the end of the day, then what's the point? So I'm hoping that you want to get results as well. And so let's get started with the sales focus. Okay, so let's talk about the sales focus. And what I want to say right away is be really aware of the importance of sales. A lot of people think that selling is a really negative profession. And I think where that happens is sometimes we've been into the old used car sales place where, you know, people are trying to pressure you and they sell you something you don't really need or you don't really want, and you feel terrible when you walk away from that. Well, here we're talking about professional sales. It's got nothing to do with that type of selling. But here's the big deal. Think about this carefully. If sales stopped around the world, and I think of all the products and services and everything that's moving every single day, including vast amounts of money, but if somebody isn't selling those products or services, literally the world would stop. And you could create the best product, maybe you'd have a warehouse full of cars or something, but if nobody's selling those cars, guess what? They're going to stay in the warehouse. That applies to everything. So sales, professional sales and professional sales people, they have one of the most important jobs in the entire world. And the people that do sales really, really well actually have an exceptional quality of life. They do make a lot of money. So my goal here is to share some of the real strong fundamentals that have always worked in sales. And with the power of technology, when you combine technology with these strong fundamentals, then you can really accelerate your progress to achieve whatever goals that you want to achieve. So let's talk again about the sales focus. Well, the very first thing is knowing your market. Now think about this again. You know, some markets, maybe you sell something and it's local, maybe in your town or city, and that's as far as you want to go. Maybe you know some people there and you want to build a community just locally. That's fine. And then, of course, some people want to go into a bigger region. Maybe they want to have sales all over the province, the state, the territory, whatever part of the world you may be in. And then, of course, there's other people, they want to go national. They want to cover the entire country where they live with their products and service. But today, in this century that we're privileged to live in, you know, the ultimate, of course, is global reach. Imagine being able to sell your product or service around the entire world. And the reason we can do that, of course, is the advancement of technology. And so you got to decide, you know, where do I want to be in this game? And sales really is a game. You need to have fun with it. And you need to have a product or service that you're excited about and that you've got really good people behind that company. People with integrity, people who are honest, people who are committed to whatever vision that they happen to have to serve people well all over the world. And there's many ways to do that. So that's the first decision really you've got to make. How big do I want to be? Do I want to be just local? Do I want to be in a region? Do I want to run the country? Or do I want to have, you know, my business in several countries around the world? that's a big, big decision, as I've said. Now, the second part here, when you've decided what is my market, then you have to say, well, who's going to be my customer? So that brings us up to really the second point in the sales focus, and that is quality appointments. And so who are the people that you're going to attract into your business, into your community? What type of people? Now, let me give you a personal example. I used to think everybody was my target, and I learned the hard way that that wasn't the case at all. And I remember when I was in direct sales for the very first time many, many years ago, I never had any sales training whatsoever, and I was very fortunate to have a great regional manager who taught me a lot of things and realized that, you know, I needed a little bit more than enthusiasm, which I had lots of, but I really didn't have a clue about the process of selling. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made was going out to people who I knew nothing about, and I just thought everybody would want this great product. And I would spend incredible amounts of time and energy wrestling people verbally, mentally, not physically, and persuading them to come into this company and taste the product. And of course, you know, some of those people had no interest whatsoever in buying. They didn't even need what I was selling. And the time that I wasted was unbelievable. And then, of course, you've got people that tell you they're interested. And you get all excited because you think you've got a sale. Well, you don't have a sale actually until something exchanged hands, and it's usually called money. So you've got to be very careful about that. That was one of the biggest lessons I learned in my early sales career. Really spend time taking a look at who are the quality people and who are the quality appointments that I'm going to spend my time on. And, you know, again, the top people in sales, they realize this, they're trained well in this, they practice it, they prepare for that. Preparation is a key in sales. So you might start with practicing on some people that you know well, but a better way to do is just to have a list. Make a list of the people that you know that could be interested in this product or service. And put your script together. And one of the things I did, particularly when I got to the point, I ran out of my list, so I had to talk to people that really didn't know me at all, and I might be making a phone call, and I would say something, you don't know me, my name's Les Hewitt, but I just wanted to share something with you that I've come across recently that would really be beneficial to your business. And I was wondering if I could just get 10 or 15 minutes with you and give you the opportunity to give me some feedback on this and see what you think. And I'd also do that with my friends. And again, the only purpose of that is to get an appointment. The biggest mistake I see that people make in sales, particularly in the early days of their sales career, is they talk too much. They want to tell everybody about the whole entire business, and the only purpose is really to get an appointment. Now, I know today with technology, you can blast emails all over the world. Yeah, does that work? Well, the results show it's a very, very small percentage of people that actually get results from that. And it really is a whole different skill set. And to measure that, and if your company's doing that, that's fine. If they're helping you out, great. But building relationships is really what sales is all about. If you want to build a successful, sustainable, and profitable business over the years, it really is about the relationship that you develop. This is not a quick fix, get rich scheme. And unfortunately, you know, money's attractive, and there's obviously money to be made out there. But if you don't have those relationships built with the best of integrity, and you're not sincerely interested in your customer, but you're just in it for the money, I think your business will be short-lived. And I've seen so many people do that. So quality appointments, getting in front of the right people that are not going to waste your time and energy, that you can sit down with ideally face-to-face. And of course today, technology, global reach. I work today with clients all over the world simply using technologies such as Skype. And there's many other platforms out there that help you to do that. And I can sit and talk for hours with somebody in Australia. I'm here in Canada, in Calgary, Alberta, thousands of miles away, of course. And it's the next best thing to sitting in front of somebody in person. So, of course, use that technology to your benefit. So let's take a look at the next step in this 5-step process. A quick recap. First of all, know your market. Are you going to be a small player, a big player, or a global player? And quality appointments. Really zero in and figure out who are the people who would be excited about this opportunity, this product or service. They might want to tell more people about it so they actually become great salespeople for you. Those are very important decisions. That's why you need to make a good list and practice, rehearse before you get started. Hi, Les Hewitt again, and we're in the middle of the sales focus, those 5 important points to help you become a terrifically successful salesperson. The next one I want to talk to you about is called compelling presentations. Some people call it a high impact presentation. And what I've learned over the years, because I made all the mistakes, first of all, I didn't prepare for my presentations, and that meant I lost a lot of sales. And then as I had the help of some great teachers and mentors and trainers, I realized that you've got to be prepared. That is one of the most important things to practice. So winging it is fine, but you won't get very far. And trust me on that one. So how do we deliver a compelling presentation? The very first thing to realize is how important your mindset is before you go into that presentation. Now you might be presenting to one person. That could be ideally face-to-face. You might be invited into a group where there's 20 people in a boardroom and you've got to deliver a presentation like that. Or using technology, you may be doing a presentation with 5 people halfway across the world using the technology that we have available like Skype and many other services. But the most important thing I've learned is before you start your presentation, review what the client is all about. How much do you know about them? Have you really gone on and studied who they are, particularly if it's a big potential influential client who could bring you a lot more business? And of course, just go on the web, you can find a lot of things about almost anybody these days. And if they have a website, obviously study that a little bit. But the other thing is how your mind is before you actually start the presentation. So what I do is I mentally prepare, and the way I do that is I'll just have a couple of quiet minutes. I usually just close my eyes and I just think about this prospect that I'm going to be talking to. And what I want to have front and center in my mind is that my most important thing during this presentation is to add value to this individual or to this group. If I'm focused on making money and I'm focused on a big sales commission, then I'll tell you right away, other people pick this up. You know, if you're in it for the money, they'll see it right away. They'll feel the energy. There's a lot of things that go on in a presentation that are non-verbal. You know, your body language, your energy has got a lot to do with it. So when you're ready to start, you must be focused on, I got to help this person or this group of people by adding value. And if I do that, first of all, I'll get their trust, and I want to be sincerely honest with them, and I want to really pay attention and learn more about them. So what I've discovered over the years is that having a 2-part presentation really works well. The first part is called discovery. And, you know, lawyers do this a lot. You know, they're in discovery, which means they have a client and they have the opposing client. We see this in divorce situations a lot, where the lawyer has the ability to ask all the questions that they want to get as much information to help with the legal presentation. And of course, the other side do the same thing as well. It's called discovery. So your most important thing at the start, after the quick introductions, and don't spend a lot of time on that, is really to ask questions and become really skilled at finding out what are the challenges this person or this group have, and how can you solve them. You are a problem solver. It's that simple. And often the people that you meet, they don't have a need for what you've got, and that's okay too. But I always want to leave value no matter who I speak to. If I know there's no chance of a sale and it's really not the best time for them, or they're already well covered in whatever service that you're selling them or product, then fine, but leave them with value. You might recommend a book, you might whatever, but that works. So here's how it works. In that first few minutes, you want to just have a conversational style. Don't interrogate them. It's like you don't go in with a big list with 50 questions on it and they feel like they're being interviewed rather than having a conversation. And so one of the questions I like to ask early on is, tell me what your biggest challenge is regarding this particular product or service that they may or may not need or they may be using. What's the biggest challenge you've got at the moment? And if you've gained trust in that first couple of minutes, and of course you can spend a moment or two telling who you are and so on, but don't go into a whole big presentation of your company, your product or service, how great we are, and bombard them with too much information. Let me give you a quick example of this. I was sitting at lunch in my office downtown, and this young guy walked in because everybody else was out to lunch, and I was alone in my office. And this guy just walked in unannounced, had no appointment, knocked on my door, walked in with a big binder under his arm, and he said, "Hi, my name's Mike. I want to show you something." And he opens this binder, and there's 50 pages in this binder with 50 different products. He was a direct sales guy going door to door. And I was sort of amused by this. I sort of sat back and was very interested to see what his presentation was all about. Now remember, he had no appointment, big mistake number one. He opens the book, he says, "Let me tell you about this product. It's fantastic." And he rambles through all the details in this product. Before I could say anything, he's into the second page, and within 3 or 4 minutes, he's into 10 pages of products. By that time, of course, I said, "Hey, hold it, stop. First of all, you don't have an appointment, and do you think you're selling or helping?" And he just looked at me with this crazy look on his face. I said, "Sorry, I'm busy. Good luck with whatever you're doing, but I'm not interested." And that is the absolute worst way to do a presentation. 50 pages in his binder. He never even introduced himself. He never asked anything about me. He just launched straight into all these great products and tried to get as much information at me in the shortest time possible. Obviously, that doesn't work. And it's interesting that people still do that. So again, you got to find out as much as you can about them before you go into the meeting. Great. I don't want to know everything about them. I prefer to have a good conversation where it's a natural conversation, and I'm sincerely interested in the group or the individual. Now, another example I had of this, which was very compelling for me, there's a guy that had a famous show on CNN, the American TV network, and his name is Larry King. His show was called Larry King Live, and Larry had this 1-hour live interview show every night of the week, and he ran it for close to 40 years. And I used to watch this just to learn from his interview style, and one day he had on the famous movie star Al Pacino. And Al was a really difficult person to get on TV. Larry had been trying to get Al Pacino as a guest for years, and finally he agreed to come on to this 1-hour live interview. And it was fascinating because Al Pacino looked like he didn't want to be there. This is live. And Larry is pretty close, that's the way he did his interviews, and he knows this is going nowhere. He asked a couple of simple questions. Pacino just said yes, no, had his arms crossed like this, and no conversation whatsoever. So Larry, being the pro that he is, after a minute or two, realizing that Mr. Pacino was just so tight, so nervous, so fearful about this interview that Larry just paused for a moment. He leaned over and he looked him right in the eye and he said, "Al, I know this is difficult for you, but you're doing just great." And magic happened after that. Al Pacino's shoulders relaxed, he uncrossed the arms, he sat back, and it was one of the best interviews that Larry had ever done. Now, why am I telling you that? It's because Larry was sincerely interested in Al Pacino looking good, coming off as a star, doing a great interview that people would talk about, and not embarrassing him. It wasn't about Larry. Larry never thought of himself any time he did interviews. And some people would try to say that. They would laud Larry, "Hey, Larry, you're the greatest. Larry, your show's fantastic." And he'd say, "It's not about me. Let's talk about you." That's a powerful lesson to learn and understand. It's all about the customer, the prospect. It's not about you. And so the skill that you need to develop in discovery is the skill of asking good questions. And what you're seeking is information about this person, what the needs are, what the challenges are, and gradually moving in to where you've got enough information where you can say, all right, I understand this person, and now I'm going to switch into the second part of the presentation, which is called solution. So we start with discovery, and then when the timing is right, and you will sense that after a while when you practice this, then you move into solution. The solution is your product and service. Then you can tell your story. Then you can say, I think I've got a solution for you. I know you're already working with this company, but I think there's some things here that will benefit you that I'm going to share with you in the next few minutes. Then you tell your story. Then you tell the unique advantages that your product or service has versus what you've heard before. And if you do that well, and again focused on the benefit for the person or the group that you're speaking to, then they're more likely to listen and think about, hey, maybe this is a better solution for us. Now, one little tip I'll give you, you're always looking for signals during any sales presentation. And by the way, to make it compelling, give some examples, give some personal stories. I just give you a couple of examples as I was explaining this. You know, and stories are powerful. If you have a personal experience, share something that is in alignment with this presentation. I like to think a top salesperson is someone who's got a bag of stories hanging over their shoulder. And when somebody talks about something, you think, oh, there's a good story, a little vignette. It's only going to take a moment or two, and you pull that story out of your bag, and basically you share that story, and that builds more power to your presentation. It makes it compelling. And again, sincerity throughout. Now, one little tip I want to give you is very, very important. People think about objections when you're going through your presentation. They're thinking, well, yeah, that would work, but this wouldn't work. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was to bring up the most likely objections before the people even think about them. Now, let me give you an example of my case. I do a lot of coaching for business owners. I have a select group that I work with, one-on-one. And when I do a presentation, I do the discovery. I ask lots of questions. I have a little questionnaire, actually, that I give them, and it helps me to understand what their challenges are, what their needs are. And then when I go into my solution to talk about the coaching element, I'm thinking about, well, what are some of the objections they might come up with? Well, one is, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to take to be coached. That's a pretty easy one to overcome. So another one might be, how much does this cost? If it costs too much, then I'm not interested. So that's another one I may need to overcome. And the other one was, will this really work? If you coach me, will I get the results? And those are the three biggest ones. So I've got to be prepared for those objections, and the best way to overcome them is to bring them up before they even think about them. And one way to do that is to say, some people, they're not too sure about coaching. One of the things I hear a lot about is they're busy people, so they don't have time. Well, the reason that you're not doing so well is you don't take the time to stop and think and make changes. And that's what I do. And the other thing is, if it costs too much, well, what's the value you're getting here? Can you really put an accurate cost on the value of spending a year with somebody who's an expert? And the other one is, will it work? Well, this is where the stories come in. So I said, well, have you got any evidence that this product or service works? I said, well, let me tell you about John. John came in, he's got some similar issues like you, and here's what happened with John. And in a minute or two, I can give him a very powerful testimonial to show that this works. So again, that's what you need to be thinking about when you're doing your presentation. talking about your product or service, evidence that it works, knowing the objections that are likely to come up, being well prepared to handle them in such a way that gives the other person confidence. And that really is the basis of a compelling sales presentation. These are fundamental things. I've learned over years that the tricky things don't work. You know, the quick sell, the high pressure stuff, it's nonsense. Really, just be yourself, be sincerely interested, add value, and have a worthwhile product or service that you believe in and that you know that it will help this person or this particular group. Now, another couple of things about a compelling presentation, of course, is what unique benefits and rewards does your product and service have for your audience? Are you a game changer type company? Are you a startup that's got revolutionary technology that will accelerate everything for this company and bring big rewards to them or the individual? You must have a unique benefit. What is your big idea that works? And of course, if you look at some of the biggest companies in the world, Amazon, for example, one of the biggest online retailers, when Amazon first started, everybody thought, well, I don't know if this is going to work or not. And of course, anybody with a dream and a vision and a compelled drive that they want to make things happen, they make it happen. And look what happens today. How many people are shopping online? And it's growing and growing and growing and growing. Another company out there, when you used to watch movies, well, we had to go to the theater to watch movies. And then we had the Blockbuster video, so you had to go down to the video store and you had to select and you had to line up, and then you took your video home and you put it in your player, and then you had to take it back to the shop again. And of course, what happens today, we get companies like Netflix, and you sit in the comfort of your home, it's on demand, you press a button and your movie's right there. You know, those are game changers. And then of course we have companies like Tesla, the electric car company, Mr. Elon Musk. And of course another guy with a dream, and everybody laughs that it'll never happen. Who wants to drive an electric car? Well, if you make a fast, super attractive car, and very environmentally friendly, and it doesn't cost much because you just plug it in, and now those cars are really, really popular, and the price is coming down. So again, what's the unique advantage that you have that you can give to your customer or your prospect? So you must know that information. You must share it in a way that they get excited, they get enthusiastic about it, and of course you must be excited about it. If you don't have the confidence to portray that you think this is a great solution for your prospect, then of course it's not going to work. You're not going to have any impact. You need high impact. So let's get to the next part of the sales focus, and it's called, after you've done a high impact or compelling presentation, it's called close the sale. That might sound obvious. One of the stats that came out a while ago about so-called professional salespeople was that 60% of people never ask for the sale at the end of the presentation. Imagine, 60%, that's unbelievable. And there's always a closing question. Don't let anybody tell you they just get it and they automatically are going to sign on the dotted line. No, it doesn't work that way. You always ask a closing question. And that question, there's only one answer. It's yes or no. And there's several ways that you can ask that question. Now, as you're going through your presentation, you're looking for signals. You're looking for buying signals, levels of interest. If your prospect or the group lean forward, they're interested, they're taking in every word that you say, that's a great sign. If they ask questions, about more levels of interest and discussion, that's a good sign. If they ask you the price, that's a good sign. But there's always still, after all of that, there's still a closing question. And the only answer is yes or no. So it's good to have 2 or 3 types of closing questions. And they're usually very, very simple. Now that you've seen what we've got to offer here, Would you like to give it a try? And that's really a question that's a pretty soft way to ask. And what's the biggest fear that salespeople have? The reason they don't ask closing questions? What's the biggest fear? Somebody's going to say no. The fear of rejection. And it's very uncomfortable when somebody says no, because often we take it personally when, in fact, that's not the case at all. Would you like to give it a try now that you've seen all the advantages and all the benefits of what we can do to help you? Would you like to give it a try? I know that another top sales trainer, and he had a great way of closing. He just looked them right in the eye and he would say, please, may I have your business? Very sincerely. And he got tons of sales just by, please, may I have your business? Would you like to get started? When would you like to get started? When would you like it delivered? You know, that's the assumptive close if you want, but don't have 49 different ways to close people, because people then think, okay, I'm being pressured, you know, this is just a typical sales presentation. Again, if you're sincerely interested in them, they won't feel that energy, but you must ask the closing question and practice this. So let's get on to the final part of the sales focus. Okay, so now we come to the fifth point in the sales focus, and this is called nurturing relationships. And I think this is actually one of the most important strategies, because sure, you can get the sale, you can close the deal, and what people do often, they just rush off to the next prospect, and they leave the new customer without any support, or even without any interest. Now, I remember one of my clients years ago, he was in the electrical business, and he had a lot of customers, but he never followed up very well with his customers. And so I was in a coaching training program with him, and I said, when was the last time that you actually called a few of your best customers to see if they need anything else that you could provide them with? And he said, you know, we've been so busy that, you know, I really haven't got time to do that, but I'll make a few calls this week. He came back to me in a couple of days. He said, I can't believe this. I just made a call to the very first person, one of my better customers, and I said, hey, I haven't talked to you for a while. It's been well over a year. Just checking in to see if you might need any more of our services. And the guy said, hey, you timed this perfectly. Actually, we're just going into an expansion. We do need your team to come over here and do a lot of electrical work. And this call ended up being worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And he hadn't done it for over a year. So nurturing your relationship means staying in touch, being sincerely interested in your customer, as I mentioned earlier, and making sure that you're helping them to the highest degree possible. Now, that doesn't mean every single day you need to be babysitting them, but you've got to be sincerely interested in their success. And when they understand that and they trust you at that level, they will think of you first before they decide to go anywhere else. And that's really what keeps your business strong, it keeps it effective, and it keeps it sustainable, and of course it keeps it very profitable. So there was one example, somebody just forgot, didn't take the time, didn't make it a habit of checking in on a regular basis, even if you did it once a month, depending on what your product and service is, of course. And, you know, these people actually, what happens is they enjoy the level of support that you're giving and the sincerity that you're providing and the value that you continue to give to them. They will tell other people. They actually become some of your best salespeople. They become what's called your raving fans, and you don't even know that they're talking to other people. And suddenly all this new business comes pouring in. So the value of nurturing your most important customers, especially your top tier, vitally important for the success of your business in the future. So the next time we're going to be talking about the power of focus. One of the biggest things that happens in business is people get distracted. They get interrupted. They have 50 new ideas in their head, especially entrepreneurs. And so we don't focus on our strengths. We don't focus on our priorities. In fact, one of the things I've discovered over the years in major surveys that we've done with business leaders as well as salespeople is that in an average week, they only spend 15 to 35% of their time on their most important priorities. 15 to 35%. In fact, some of the top people in the leadership were at 5%. Now, can you imagine spending 5% instead of 80% every week on what you do best, what your top priorities are? Imagine what your results would be if you only spent 5%. So I'm going to show you several strategies to keep you laser focused so that you focus on the most important things in building your business. Really excited to help you out with that. So remember that sales focus, those 5 elements, practice, take one of those steps, take all of those steps and start practicing. And of course we started with know your market, quality appointments, compelling presentation, close the deal, and of course the last one, nurture your relationships. I look forward to hearing from you, and also get ready for our second video in this series called The Power of Focus, How to Stay Laser Focused. Until then, stay focused and have fun.